guys, I'd welcome you guys all back to my channel, and today is a March wrap up. According to my reading planner, I read 4 books this month, and I'm very satisfied with my reading. And so let's just talk about it. So the first book that I read, well, it's not the first. The first book I'm talking about is These Divided Shores by Sarah Rash. This is the second book in a duology. It is focused on this island that has this kind of Catholicism inspired monarchy that's trying to like force people to believe that magic is wrong and da-da-da-da-da. It's a very, typical statement. However, the second book felt very flat for me. I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars, and I think the 2 might have been a little too generous. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's just that it's a sticker, and I didn't want to chance ripping anything off my thing. But let's see, I wrote, I'm glad this is a duology because this book feels extremely flat for me. Email is probably the best way to describe everyone in this story. I completed it because I'm a completionist, not because I enjoyed it. And I think that's very fair. I think every character from the first book came into the second book and all of them needed a Prozac. It wasn't even in a way where I'm like I understood why people were sad, but it was their only defining factor in most of the story. And even when we finally got to the climactic part of the story, I was like, I had to go through a lot to get here. And now that I'm here, I'm a little unsatisfied with how we are here. So I'm not really... Would I recommend this series? No, I wouldn't. I don't even know how I read it in the first place. But I would not recommend this series. This is not me giving a review. I'm just gushing or splooshing. Splooshing sounds like such a weird word. I don't know if I want to call it splooshing. So, I just want to point out, I feel like I need like a sticker or something that comes up across the stream. Like, this is an Onyx Pages suggestion. So, I think this was like 2 years ago in one of Jerry's vlogs. And she's like outside and she's like hauling books or something. Or reading books or something. I cannot remember. But I do remember that she talked about My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich by E.B. Zoboy. And it has been on my TBR list ever since then. And because I got this book, I think this was in my birthday haul, I think. Because this was in my birthday haul, I decided to read it this month. This focuses on a young girl. Is she in middle school? She's like a middle school. She's about to go to middle school, I think. I don't know. I know that she's like 11 or 12 or something. Her name is Ebony Grace. She goes to Harlem for the summer to visit her father because her grandfather, whom she loves with all of her heart, and her mother are in Huntsville, Alabama. And something is going on with her granddad. And we don't really know what's going on with him. Cool. I gave this book 3.5 stars. And I will say, this is the first book in a while that I was not really a fan of the audiobook. I like E.B. Zoboy's voice, but as far as E.B. Zoboy voicing this young girl, it wasn't really connecting for me. So I actually read this book the normal way because I just wasn't really getting it. So I wasn't a fan of the audiobook this time. Duh. Also, when I learned that was another thing. Ice cream sandwich in this one is used as a metaphor. It's the same metaphor as for Oreo. Because Oreo is a trademark name. So you obviously can't use that. So you have to use a different one. So they kept calling her ice cream sandwich the same way that people would call somebody an Oreo. Black on the outside, white on the inside. Like that. And I was immediately like turned off. I was like, I hate that. I hate that so much. But that happens in real life. Ebony Grace was a weird kid, but she read more autistic than anything. I wish that would have been explored because her fixation on space was not as normal for a 7th grader. Okay. How do I explain this? So the main character, Ebony Grace, is very intriguing to me. something about her read, and I don't know how to explain this. I'm not trying to be offensive when I say this, but if you've read this book, you know what I mean. Ebony Grace read to me like she could be on the spectrum. And it's not because I thought she was weird. I do think she's weird, but it's because of the way that she communicated with other people. She was very factual in the way that she communicated, even when like she didn't, all her normal human interactions came off very awkward or condescending or mean to everyone else, where like for her, she was just talking. And so it reminds me of that Netflix show about the autistic boy, where like the way that he talks is just really straightforward. That's how she reminded me. So I was really wondering, and I looked it up, and it's Evie Zorbe doesn't specifically say that Ebony Grace is autistic, but she wrote it in a way that could spark a conversation. So I was like, I wonder if I'm the only person who picked that up. I'm not sure. One day I'm going to look up reviews and see what other people thought. But that didn't take away from the fact that Ebony Grace was heavily fixated on space. She was fixated on space so much that she annoyed the crap out of me, because I was like, girl, give it a rest. Because in the beginning, you kind of think that like, oh, her mom's just trying to like destroy her thunder. It's not that serious. But like after a while, I got sick of her talking about space. So, but I did think that this book was really cute. I really enjoyed the story as well, because it's a story that's not really talked about, especially with the Black community. This is a father that's very present in his daughter's life and wants to continue to be present. And I just also wanted to highlight that, like, she has two parents and they co-parent very well, and they live in two different places. So I did like that. And this is a book that I would recommend to people. I buddy read this with Amber, and I just want to point out, buddy reading and deciding that you're like, I'm going to go to a specific page, or we're going to read 50 pages and talk about it. It's so much fun when you have somebody as animated about a series as Amber. Amber loves this series, and her love of the series made me want to read it. I have to buy this book because I need it to go with the other book. I really enjoyed this book. However, I felt like it didn't need to be this long. This is a chunker. It is a duology, and this is the end. It did not need to be this long. There was a lot of character dialogue in this story, which sometimes can be really great. And then to me, I feel like, okay, we can have character dialogue, but if you're not progressing the story, then why are we still talking? Like that, I got to a point somewhere in the book where I was like, well, part one was long and drawn out, and a lot of the times it did not even progress the story at all. I was really annoyed. I was just over it. So, but then part two was the complete opposite. Part two, I basically read part two in a day. Whereas part one, I didn't mind getting to a point and just stopping. Part two, I was like, I need to know now. Tell me what happens. And then also the chapters are really short and they bounce back between two characters. All in all, really enjoyed this book. I gave it a clean 4 stars. So yeah. Y'all. This book is a book I have already been talking about. I get excited when people talk about it. I might have shed a thug tear or two because of the relatability of some parts of this book. But it was Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. I cannot tell you, like, I saw Bookish Realm's video where she was talking about this book, and she was like, basically like full-blown gushing out. Like, obviously I'm gonna have a gush about this book in another video. And I immediately felt FOMO. I think I wrote on her video and I was like, I'm feeling immediate FOMO. I need to read this book, right? Then I got on a FaceTime with Oshley and Troy from Black Prose Club. And I was like, guys, because we were just chilling. We weren't really talking about anything. And I was like, guys, I'm going to read this book while we're on FaceTime. But I'm only going to read like 1 or 2 chapters and then I'll be fine. Somehow I ended up on like chapter 17 and then had to force myself to stop. But I didn't actually just stay up the whole night and just read the book. I want more. And then I heard it's supposed to be like 3 books. Oh my gosh. We're just going to talk, like, I'm recording the gushing of this book, like, after I record this video. This book was a 5 out of 5 stars for me. I cannot, like, the question that keeps popping up into my head is, what would this book have done for me if I read this book when I was middle grade? Because as an adult, reading this book was so freaking amazing for me. It's something about this young, unapologetically black girl, and obviously, you know, there's things that happens, but like, it's just amazing. Oh, and then those who don't know, obviously, this is a story about a girl whose brother goes missing, and then she finds out that her brother was actually working for this secret paranormal secret agency, and he nominates her to join, and then the story takes off from there. Also, the Knight brothers are the whole premise of the story and how they do everything is so freaking good. I cannot stress this enough. Like, you have to read this book. And if you don't like this book, I also want to know why you don't like it. But like, I loved this book. This was my favorite book of the month. I was high-key mad at myself for reading it so fast. But now I'm just excited for the next book. Like, I am buying this book, and even if they change the cover, I'll buy it again. That's where I'm at. Those are the books that I read in the month of March. My question to you guys is, what readathons are you participating in this month? Leave it down below in the comments section. And until the next time, guys, bye.